Hi, welcome to the next chapter with me, Denise Young. I will be talking about real estate in Winnipeg and southeastern Manitoba. And please like, subscribe, and share. Today we're going to talk about what every buyer needs to know about the 2026 market in southeastern Manitoba, including Winnipeg. How to win in a competitive market and how to protect yourself while you do it. So yeah. If you're a buyer right now, January has you feeling like, how is it already this intense? You're really not imagining it. It's absolutely bonkers crazy right now. So far, I've seen like most of the houses I've been looking at with clients have gone into double-digit offers. I've seen multiple houses go 100 grand over asking. Yeah, it's bonkers crazy. Some are definitely overpaying, not just a change in value. But yeah, homes are moving quickly. Showings are stacked. We're looking at houses with multiple other groups of people in it. Even in the rural market, just depending on where, I'm seeing multiple offer situations and bidding wars pretty much everywhere. So today I'm going to give you a clear Manitoba-specific buyer playbook for 2026. We're going to talk about what's driving the market, why both Winnipeg and rural properties can be extremely competitive, and what you need to do before you start shopping, and how to write a strong offer without taking on any risks that you'll regret later. By the end of this episode, you'll know exactly what to do first, what to watch for, and how to keep your head is right. Yeah, well, everyone else is panicking. I'm pretty sure that's what happened the other night on offers that I was in. Someone paid well over all the comps in the area, like by $40,000. Like it's just bonkers. So let's start with the big picture. Manitoba is not one market. Winnipeg isn't one market. Rural Manitoba isn't one market. And what I mean by that is every different neighborhood, different price points, different types of homes, and different lifestyles all move differently. But what I'm seeing right now is that there is competition pretty much in every category. It's not just like it is still selective, but it's almost everywhere right now. We are seeing a few things not go into competition. Some condo buildings aren't. Homes that are priced too high aren't, obviously. Yeah, I feel like it does have to still be a well-priced house. Move-in ready homes are getting a lot of attention, but I've seen a lot of fixer-uppers go well above asking this year so far. So it's not just about that move-in ready. It's about it being priced properly for who you are marketing to. In the rural areas, inventory is super tight, especially this time of year. We might see more listings come on in after like the spring dry up. Usually people want to wait until after the snow is melted and everything's dried up, and then they list their house in the country. So we might see more then, but that being said, there'll be more buyers by then too, right? So everyone just starts piling up. When January starting this strong, it's because we have a lot of buyers, and then sellers tend to get confident early, and we might see more people list their houses because they can see that there's obviously a lot of buyers out there. So that could pull the spring market forward quite a bit. If you're buying in 2026, you need a plan, and you need to understand the rules of the game in a competitive market. Now, why does it feel so competitive? The number one reason is inventory. Inventory is low in pretty much every market right now in Manitoba. There just isn't enough good options around. The best listings end up becoming magnets. And yeah, if it's clean and well priced and in a great location, it's going to be bonkers crazy. And so, yeah, that tends to be what's happening. Number two, Buyers are less wait and see right now. There's a lot more confidence in rates after having come down quite a bit last year and having held for the last, I don't know, three. Yeah, the last three announcements just all held. So I feel like everyone knows like they're not likely coming down any further. So even though they did come down a lot, this is probably where our new normal is. And so that makes people act faster and with less hesitation. And number three, the lifestyle shift of wanting to move to the country. A lot of people are still wanting to move to the country. So we're still seeing a lot of action on rural properties. People want more space, home offices, garages, yards, hobby spaces, privacy, and breathing room. So yeah, the small town markets are doing, a ton more. We're seeing even further from the city, even 40 minutes to an hour from the city is still getting a lot of action. So there's that. So what can you do with that information? Stop trying to time the market. There's no way to time today's market. You go after the houses that meet your needs. Build a strategy to make it work. And that way you can actually like make it work in the market that you're shopping in. So step one, get real with your budget before you fall in love with any house. This is where most buyers unintentionally set themselves up for stress and failure. Get your pre-approval. That is your starting line. You want to get the pre-approval early. A lender may approve you for a maximum amount, but that might not be the amount that you should actually be spending. You want two numbers. You want to know what you're for and your comfortable number. What do you actually want to spend? And like, how will it feel if you're in between those two numbers? Your comfortable number is the payment that still lets you have a life. It's the number that doesn't squeeze you every month. It still leaves room for groceries, gas, kids, pets, trips, savings, and all the stuff that you might want to fix that comes with home ownership. Because here's the truth, even in a new build, there's something that always comes up. Like you want to build a deck, you have sod, you want to finish the basement. There's always something, right? So even if there isn't repairs, there's something else. And in an older home, of course, there's stuff. Just maintenance alone is a lot on an older home. So when you're building your plan, you have to build that in. How much can we borrow and how much do we need to actually live? And then while we're on budget, I want you to remember that the purchase price isn't your only cost. You have to plan for closing costs. And in an older home, that could be different than a brand new build, right? So that's where having a consultation with your realtor is really important, because then we can plan for those, right? Plan for moving costs, plan for, the few immediate purchases that you might need. Like, sometimes you need to buy appliances. Sometimes you need to, the hot water tank in every house I've ever bought tends to blow within the first month. So, plan for that first week in the house, buying new cleaning supplies or, little odd things that you didn't need in your old house because you just had less room or something. I don't know. And you're going to organize differently in your new home, right? So maybe you need something different. Step two, well, actually, before I move to step two, you also want to talk to your bank about how long they need to get your final approval done, so that you have a good idea of when we are writing offers, what's that going to look like? How much time are we going to need? And how competitive can we make those conditions? Because if you're, needing a mortgage, you should have a condition of finance. I know some people do remove that. I don't recommend that. I just recommend using a broker who can shorten up that time as much as possible, so that when we are writing that condition, we are competitive. We're not waiting a week for financing after the deal has been accepted. Okay, so then step two is, figuring out what you actually want, what you actually need, and what are your non-negotiables? What are your no thanks, don't want it, absolute deal breakers, that kind of stuff. So like things like, I don't want a house with foundation problems. I don't want to have to fix that. I only want to do cosmetic repairs, that kind of stuff. Deal breakers also might be like the school area. You have to like know exactly what the catchment is if that's the school you want your kids to go to. And I'm doing this because I'm like, I always check, especially like several of the school division websites, how you just put in the address and it literally tells you what schools you'll have to go to. So yeah, what, do you need to have a garage, or is that a want? Yard for the dog, or is that a want? Whatever matters in your life, you need to know what your must-haves, your nice-to-haves, and your deal breakers are. Okay, so those are really good to know, like right after budget, around when you're having your consultation with your realtor, so that you, aren't being led astray to look at houses that aren't going to fit. This list protects you from panic decisions. Being reminded that this isn't exactly what you want can reel you in, right? You don't want to buy the wrong house just because, you're worried about the timeline. Sometimes it takes a little while to find the right house, especially rural. It might not come up right away. It might have to be patient and wait for something that fits everything. But still having a plan for when it does come up helps, so that you can actually act quickly when that house does come up. Not every listing is a bidding war, but the properties that tend to spark multiple offers are usually like a mix of like a good layout, good location, and priced properly for the market. So they tend to bring in more people. When you see that combination, you can assume competition until proven otherwise. That means you don't want to wait 3 days to think, 3 days or 3 weeks to go and look at the property. You actually want to act pretty quickly. What you're seeing on realtor.ca isn't necessarily what's happening in real life. It doesn't show you when a house goes pending on realtor.ca. So just because it's been sitting up there for 3 weeks doesn't mean it hasn't been sitting with an offer, under contract, waiting for conditions to be met. So you do want to actually, act quickly and get in there and view it. That way you can take your next steps. So let's talk about what strong actually means in an offer. In a competitive market, strength isn't just price, it's about clarity and fewer moving pieces and confidence that a deal will actually close. We want to give that seller the confidence that the deal will actually close. And that comes with a few things. So clean timeline, a deposit that makes sense. You want to have like a really good high deposit to show that there's real seriousness. A possession that works for the seller when possible often really helps. Fewer conditions, or conditions with shorter timelines, as short as possible. That shows that the buyer's organized. It shows that the buyer's serious. I get that sometimes a buyer just sees the right property come up and, hadn't been thinking about buying at all, but the right property comes up, so tries to make it work. But chances are a buyer who is organized and is ready is going to get that house before you, unless it's like in the middle of nowhere. So let's talk about conditions some more. Because the highest price doesn't always get the house. It's sometimes the cleanest offer. I don't necessarily like always seeing a clean offer. I like someone's getting a mortgage. I still want to see a mortgage approval. So I'd rather it be conditional to financing for, 1 to 2 days, so that we can, actually get a letter saying, yeah, they actually are approved. And then, I'm not here to teach you to take risks. If you want a home inspection, and I recommend that on all houses, you can do a pre-inspection. The nice thing about a pre-inspection is depending on the inspector, every inspector is kind of different how they do their pre-inspections. Some only do like major systems on a pre-inspection. Some will do a whole inspection, but just won't do the report. Typically, they tend to be about the half the price of a regular inspection. Typically, you don't get a report. But in most cases, once you do get the house, they'll come back and finish the inspection and report for the balance of what it would cost. And that way you still have the report so that you have a way to, repair all the little things that the inspector finds, and also have the educational portion of the inspection that teaches you how to take care of that house, right? So, so that is one way you can protect yourself and still be competitive. So yeah, we don't want you to feel the pressure to remove all your conditions and just go in hoping that everything's going to be okay. So we try to offer solutions. A better approach is to do your work early. That's why we like to look at the house as soon as possible so that we have time to do things like pre-inspections, talk to your bank about, this particular house. And if their lender is going to have questions on anything to do with financing, maybe talk to your insurance broker about how much insurance is going to be, or if there's going to be any insurance issues, any questions that they may have, so that we can hopefully go into that offer with as little conditions as possible. And and then maybe like if we aren't able to do a pre-inspection, have your inspector let you know what his availability is over the next couple of days so that you can shorten up. You don't need to have a 5 to 7 days for an inspection. Hopefully you can get that inspector in really fast. And that way it can hopefully be competitive. We want to plan for, I was going to say condos. In condos, like you can't waive the condo doc. So that's a relief, because that's going to be something that's applied to everyone, no matter what. There's going to be a 7-day cooling off period. And so in condos, you basically have the same issues. You want to have, shorten up the financing. You want to shorten up the inspection period. Maybe ask as many questions as you can of the listing agent about the condo docs. See what you can get ahead of time, because maybe by having asked those questions and having those answers and being satisfied, they will know that you are less likely to back out of an offer due to the condo doc information. So like that could show that you're more prepared, right? So it's all about making the seller know that you are more prepared than everybody else. It's not just about the price. Let's see here. Sorry, just look at my notes, see where I'm at. The city is different than outside the city. So let's start with Winnipeg. Competition tends to be very micro. One neighborhood can be calm and another can be really intense. Right now I'm seeing intense almost everywhere across the board. There's just so few listings right now. So like some of the areas haven't even had a listing yet this year. So I can imagine if they do get one, it'll go crazy. And that's like for all different styles of houses. Maybe not like the more expensive houses, let's say. And when I say more expensive, I'm talking like $750 and up. What I'm seeing in January is a strong appetite for almost everything that's priced well. So if you're a Winnipeg buyer, here's your non-negotiables. Be ready to view quickly and have time to do your homework before the offer date. Don't plan to wait till the weekend, because that could cost you precious time. Offers are often on Mondays and Tuesdays. If a listing hits on Thursday, get there as soon as possible so that you can spend the weekend doing your homework. And then 2, know your decision process. If you need to talk to your partner, your parents, your friend, your mortgage broker, your dog, or your group chat, that's fine. But make that process like happen faster, right? Like know that you're going to need to chat with everybody as quickly as possible. And 3, understand that over asking doesn't mean that you're overpaying. It means that we have to understand that the value. List price is a marketing number, and value is what actually matters. Value is where your offer should be. Value comes from looking at what the competition sold for, or previous competition sold for. So you're going to look at like, what did the comp sell for? How did they compare? Stuff like that. You're going to be asking yourself, am I willing to pay this for this house? Can I live with it? How does this fit in what I need and what I wanted? And does it fit into my budget of what I feel comfortable with? And if it doesn't, then this isn't the right house, right? So yeah, it might be everything you want and more, because maybe it is too expensive for you, right? Because maybe that price is just going to go too high. So keeping that in mind, keep your expectations grounded. In a competitive market, you might not get everything on your wish list at your target price. So you sometimes need to be reminded of what's reasonable. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll send you what has sold over the last, 3 or 4 months that actually is in your price range, so that you can see, like, is it actually attainable to get what you're looking for in the price that you're looking for? And again, that varies by market, because 3 or 4 months in a rural market might not give you too many houses to look at. Sometimes we have to look at the last 2 years in some towns, right, to see a variety of prices. So yeah, keeping our expectations reasonable is a huge, huge thing. Sometimes that means we have to adapt our filters, and discuss like how we could find more of what you're looking for. Maybe we have to drive a little further. Maybe we look at a different town if that's possible. And if it's not, then okay, maybe we need to adjust the size or the condition or something else, right? For Winnipeg condos, your strategy has to have a few extra steps. The documentation matters. They can affect your financing, your lifestyle, and your future resale. So we do have a cooling off period. So that is nice. So we never get to waive that. And but I do find that if you've asked a lot of the important questions ahead of time, you're going to give the seller confidence that you're not likely to back out. You don't want to buy a condo just based on it's cute. You want to actually like consider the entire financial plan for the building and what's going on. You want to read the reserve fund study. You want to know what needs to be done and what's been planned for financially. Let's switch over to rural and small town Manitoba. Buyers can be really surprised out here. It can be extremely competitive. Inventory is so thin. Last year I was even in competition like an hour and a half from the city, right? Like it can happen anywhere, because it just takes 2 buyers to make competition, right? Like 2 people who are serious. And so sometimes it's a matter of being like, a lot of times those houses don't have offer dates because we don't know if there's going to be enough buyers. So sometimes it's a matter of who gets to the house first, right? So we, and I mean like the same day, like sometimes it's just a matter of, don't book your appointment too far in the future. If a house comes up that fits your needs, you want to get to it as soon as possible, because if someone beats you to it, it might be sold by the time you get to look at it. So yeah, in those areas, like especially like further from the city where we're not seeing as many offer dates, you literally have to jump when they list. People aren't just buying bedrooms and bathrooms, they're buying space, privacy, outbuildings, trails, hobby farms, workshops, garages, rooms for dogs, room for kids, room for peace and quiet. But rural due diligence is very different. This is where buyers can get into a lot of trouble. They assume it's the same as buying in the city, but it's definitely not. We have to consider like what's going on with the septic, what's going on with well water, what's going on with flooding, overland water, drainage. There's so many different things to look at with rural. So that is all things to consider. Yeah, so I think I've gone over everything now. And let me just double check my notes. And yeah. Yeah. So yeah, we want to set you up for the best the best opportunity possible. So call and have that buyer's consultation so that we can make sure that you've done everything you can do to prepare. And talking to the right mortgage specialist. Sometimes that means maybe a broker versus your bank. Some of the banks or credit unions, they want 5 to 7 days for a condition. Maybe you want to talk to a mortgage broker who can shorten that up to 1 to 2 days. I've seen as little as 6 hours on offers. So like the next morning, like by 1 o'clock the next day, we're going to have our conditions met. And I've also had, my own clients who have had their financing done that quickly with a mortgage broker. So, maybe that's a good conversation to have. Should we be talking to someone different? And then maybe, depending on the broker, maybe they can still place that mortgage at the institution you really wanted to deal with, because they have access to many institutions. But then at least your approval process will be much shorter. So then you'll be more competitive in multiple offers. So those are some of the things that we do to prepare you. Every situation is different. So it's great to have that buyer's consultation so that we can tailor it for you and your situation. And it's great to have an open mind through the process. We want to get you what you want, but we also want to make sure that what you want for the price is reasonable. Otherwise, you're never going to win. Okay, so that's everything. If you found this helpful, please subscribe, like, and share. And thanks for watching.